Mr. Clark, who I can't ask about this, says, good to hear from you, but sorry that you are getting so much stick from, quote, the great unwashed, close quote. Who did you understand on receiving this email him to be referring to as the great unwashed?
I assumed he was talking about a group on the beneficial community.
You say, I recall I shall never have a private email from Hayden Lewis again, a happy day, and then Kalu Kalay, so you quote from the Jabberwocky. And then you say this, otherwise, what a monumental waste of time, not just this afternoon, but all the previous hours spent nurturing that lot of moaners. That afternoon, there had been a meeting of the partnership group. We can look at the minutes if you want, but it's a perfectly ordinary partnership group meeting on the 13th of December 2004. Do we correctly understand your email to be suggesting that meetings spent in the partnership group are a monumental waste of time, and that the partnership group were regarded by you, or some of them, as a lot of moaners?
If you were to look through the minutes of the various partnership group meetings, you will see that there was quite a lot of unpleasant feeling.
Funnily enough, when you set it out as you have done, it makes one wonder why infected intimates are treated exactly as registrants, since they do not have haemophilia to worry about. We might see if we can review that when get round to looking at RegPay at the NSSC. That would be a way of pissing off the Lewis contingent. You presumably were aware, and indeed I think it's reflected in what you say there, that Hayden's wife Gaynor was herself infected with HIV.
Yeah.
You seem to be proposing a review of the way in which infected intimates were treated, in part at least, as a way of, as you put it, pissing off the Lewis family. Would that be an appropriate basis for a review of policy towards infected intimates?
No, which is why the fact that you're taking it seriously indicates that you don't understand the relationship between Martin and myself.
Perhaps
I'm not saying something there that I feel, as a chairman, seriously we ought to do. I'm simply saying it as a sort of throwaway remark to a friend.
It was some form of joke, was it?
Hmm?
It was some form of joke, was it?
It's some form of, yeah. It's a tongue-in-cheek remark.
29th of November, forwarding Mr. Lewis's letter to Martin Harvey and saying this, Martin, notwithstanding the heading, I thought you'd love to join me in starting the week with an insight into the thoughts of Hayden Lewis. I shall try to compose a reply in the course of the day. I shall point out to him that I'm unable to provide him with information about expenses without asking you. It is irritating that some Boyd so thick...
I think it should be somebody, probably.
Well, I'm going to ask about that in a moment. So thick can come up with such meddlesome suggestions. First of all, in terms of what appears to be a typographical error, are you able to assist with whether that should have been somebody or some boyo?
Somebody.
Was it appropriate for you to forward a private and confidential letter to you, to Mr. Harvey?
Only because it would be difficult for me to answer the letter without reference to the Chief Executive.
Well, you could have identified the points you wanted to explore with the Chief Executive and extracted those points as discrete matters rather than forwarding the whole letter that was expressed to be private and confidential. Could you not?
I could have done that. My relationship with Martin Harvey was such that I regarded anything that was private and confidential to me. If I had to share it with Martin, I would regard that as still being within a very restricted.
Was it appropriate for you to describe a beneficiary of the Macfarlane Trust, someone infected, someone indeed whose brother was infected, someone whose wife was infected, so someone whose personal circumstances can only be described as deeply tragic, as thick?
Totally inappropriate.
Why did you describe?
This is disgraceful use of language.
Factor 8. Exposing the contaminated blood scandal